Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar today. UNICEF University Statistics Camp, Seminar 9, Confirmatory Factor Analysis, SEM analysis, and path analysis using IBM-AMOS, Introduction and Explanation of Output. My name is Sebastian Heller, and I'm the Doctoral Studies Liaison. I will be co-hosting this webinar today. We will play a recording first of the webinar itself. This was recorded by Dr. Kostas Fotiou, who you will meet shortly in the live Q&A that will follow this session, the Associate Dean of the Business School. So if you do have any questions, please post them in the Q&A section, which is the two speech bubbles that you will find at the bottom of your Zoom controls. So without further ado, let's turn to the recording of the webinar for today. So one moment. And
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this seminar on confirmatory factor analysis, structural equation modeling, analysis, and path analysis using IBM-AMOS, Introduction and Explanation of the Output. This should have been a 3-day training session, in fact, because there are 3 very important areas under examination here. And we'll try to squeeze everything into one training session. This is an important training session for all of you that aim to use or using statistical analysis in your research and aim to publish high-impact papers. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Kostas Fotiou. I am the Associate Dean of the Business School. And I do hope that you will enjoy this training session. Please take a minute to go through the agenda. Briefly, 3 important areas will be covered here. The first is confirmatory factor analysis. The second is structural equation modeling. And the third is path analysis. So let's start with one slide of theory, and then we can move to more interesting slides. So what is SPSS-AMOS? IBM SPSS-AMOS is a powerful structural equation modeling software helping support your research and theories by extending standard multivariate analysis methods, including regression, factor analysis, correlation, and analysis of variance. How to use SPSS-AMOS? Briefly, to build attitudinal and behavioral models reflecting complex relationships more accurately than standard multivariate statistics techniques using either an intuitive graphical or programmatic user interface. Basically, usually with SPSS, you can test specific relationships, what we call hypotheses.
hello.
But here
Hello.
you can test the whole model that you are examining.
I don't know where she is, sorry.
Where can you access SPSS-AMOS? AMOS is included in the premium edition of SPSS Statistics, where it is sold separately, but you can buy AMOS as part of the basic, standard, and professional editions of SPSS Statistics, or separately as a standard alone application, and it is mainly used for Windows. Now, it is very important to mention that there are 2 types of factor analysis. The one is confirmatory factor analysis, and the other one is exploratory factor analysis. In confirmatory factor analysis, you specify the number of factors based on your theoretical or empirical models. In exploratory factor analysis, you determine the number of factors based on various criteria, such as agent values, the script plot, or percentage of variance explained. Therefore, with confirmatory factor analysis, the research area is already developed by previous scholars. For example, there are previous questionnaires that can be used to test the relationships, and the student is using factor analysis to confirm the validity of the study. On the other hand, with exploratory factor analysis, the research area is not established yet, and the researcher aims to confirm the validity of the questions in the questionnaire and whether they can be included in the study. For simplicity, in this presentation, we will use the term confirmatory factor analysis. So to conduct the confirmatory factor analysis, you start from SPSS, and then you move to SPSS-AMOS. It is very important to follow the procedure to provide evidence of the validity of the study. Specifically, in SPSS, we test whether the factors are in line with certain numbers, which are also called rule of thumb. And then we test AMOS, in AMOS the model. Again, there are certain numbers that the researcher needs to achieve to show that the research project is acceptable.
Hello. Hello, Lenny.
Factor analysis is a statistical technique that reduces a set of variables by extracting all their commonalities into smaller number of factors. It can also be called data reduction. When observing vast number of variables, some common patterns emerge, which are known as factors. We remove factors, questions, because the phenomenon can be explained using less questions. For instance, the initial questionnaire may have 6 questions on job satisfaction, and then after factor analysis, job satisfaction can be explained with only 4 questions. Therefore, we reduce the data set by removing 2 questions. From my personal experience, questionnaires with many participants, for instance, above 200, can retain more questions than questionnaires with less participants. For instance, studies with less than 100 participants. And of course, if the questions are taken from previous studies and have been validated, then there is a good chance that the confirmatory factor analysis will be a success. So these are a few aspects that you need to remember. Okay, so let's look at an example of confirmatory factor analysis, first looking at the process in SPSS, and then we will move to AMOS. To start the discussion, let's consider at this research model, which will be used to look at the initial stages of confirmatory factor analysis in SPSS, and then I will be using other examples in AMOS to continue the analysis. So 4 variables, as you can see in the research model, are reported. Here we test whether supervisor support, which is on the left-hand side, impacts job satisfaction and organizational commitment of employees, which you can see the boxes on the right-hand side, and whether dyadic trust mediates this relationship. Okay, let's look at some of the stages of confirmatory factor analysis, starting from factor loadings. Following the example in the research model, we are looking at the questionnaire. Supervisor support, as you can see, is examined with 3 questions. Dyadic trust and job satisfaction are also examined with 3 questions. and organizational commitment with 2 questions. When we conduct the factor analysis in SPSS, the factor loadings of successful studies reside to the hypothesis factor. In our example, the research model has 4 factors. Therefore, we can expect that each factor will attract the intended questions. And you can see it here in the table. So under factor 1, all 3 supervisor support questions are gathered, and so on with the other variables. So please have a look. So this is the perfect study which shows initially high levels of validity. If the study is problematic, including small number of participants or questions in the questionnaire that are not established in the literature, then factor loadings might not reside in the hypothesis factors. Here you can see that factor loadings, in other words, questions of the questionnaire or items, resided to other factors. For instance, the second item in factor 1 has moved to factor 2, and the second item of factor 2 has moved to factor 3, while the second item of factor 4 has moved to factor 3. This is not acceptable and shows low levels of validity of the study. There are, of course, a number of steps that we can take to mitigate this threat. For instance, to remove the item, to remove the question from the study. Okay, the next very important step is the calculations of the average variance extracted scores, also known as AVE. Here, as an example, we look at the first factor, which concerns supervisor support, SS, with its 3 items, SS1, SS2, and SS3. To calculate AVE, average variance extracted score, to calculate AVE, we calculate the square of the number of the item and then calculate the average. Let's look at the example in detail. So, when you conduct factor analysis in SPSS, you will receive factor loadings under each factor. So, for example, factor 1, the 3 questions of supervisor support, the first question received 0.9, the second 0.8, and the third 0.6. So that's the first step to determine the factor loadings under each factor. As previously noted, we calculate the square number by multiplying each number with itself. So 0.9 by 0.9 equals 0.81, and so on. In the second step, we add the 3 results, and the total is 1.81. In the third step, we calculate the average, which is 0.60. A rule of thumb accepts values above 0.50. Therefore, in this case, the result is acceptable because it is 0.60. Then we can continue and do the same procedure for the other variables of the research model, which is the addict trust, job satisfaction, and organizational commitment. Having completed the process in SPSS, We then move to SPSS-AMOS. So here you can see the application as it will show on your Windows on your computer. You can access it from your Windows, as I mentioned, or you can access AMOS from SPSS. As you can see here, you open SPSS, select Analyze, number 1, and then IBM SPSS AMOS, number 2. And this will take you to the AMOS interface, which is this one. Here you can see the AMOS interface with all the tools on the left-hand side and the empty area on the right-hand side that you will draw your models to conduct structural equation modeling. Okay, let me introduce the tools to you. So as you can see from the circle on the left-hand side and also enlarged on the right-hand side, the first set of tools are used to draw the structural model. This one is used to copy. And this tool to move an object from one place to another. This tool is used to delete something. And this to change the size of an object. This one to rotate your model. And this one to tidy up the model, to make them look nice. This one to select the data from SPSS file. And once selected the data, this tool is used to drag and drop the variables into the boxes of the model. This one to set properties of the output. For instance, what do we want to examine? And then this is to run the analysis. Okay, so we have looked at some of the most important tools that you will use when you engage with this tool. Let's move to see a complete model. So to sum up from what has been presented so far, in the first step, look on the right-hand side of the screen, we conducted factor analysis in SPSS. And you can see what we have discussed about the factors and the factor loadings. And AVE. Then in step 2, we drew the model in AMOS with the tools that I have mentioned. And also you can see how the variables appear to drag and drop them into the model. You can see this on the left-hand side marked as 3. This you will have the opportunity to understand it better when you engage with AMOS. So let me say that this is a random example now. Once the model is ready, we run the analysis here. We can see some of the results of the factor loadings. These factor loadings that we can see on the right-hand side is in fact the correlation between the variables. So for instance, we can see agent trust has high correlation with loyalty, and we can see the value of 0.71. Okay. So we can see the relationships. The next step is to examine the output. So we select output symbol as you can see it in the circle. Once we are in the output, we click on Model Fit. Here, I have highlighted some of the fit indices that should show a result above 0.90 and preferably above 0.95. For example, the one on the top, the 8.833, the GFI is the goodness of fit. And there are some other indicators as well, which are important to report. In order to improve the model fit number that we have seen before in the previous slide, we need to select modification indices and check those larger numbers. The reason we do this is that we want to delete questions from the questionnaire that they don't fit very well in the research model. So for instance, here we can see that the value of 79,873 is a large number, and it is a question that we can consider to remove. And also you can see some other high values. Also, actually, if I go one step back, we can see here that the 79,873 concerns E6, E7. So here we can see the E6, it has a value of 0.47. This value, if we go back and we remember the calculation of the AVE, the average variance extracted score, we would like these values to be the highest because we want the average to be above 0.50. So any low values, especially indicated in this analysis, we need to consider to remove them. So, so using the delete tool, as you can see on the left-hand side, you delete anything concerning the E6, the loyalty 5 box, and also the arrow that connects this box with loyalty. And then we run the analysis again to see if the fit indices, if the results are better. Indeed, before goodness of fit, before GFI was below 0.90, and now it's above. So recalculating model fit, we can see better fit indices. Summing up here, I have presented the confirmatory factor analysis and the steps from SPSS moving to SPSS-AMOS and what needs to be done. Now let's move to structural equation modeling. Previously, I have presented the tools which are used to draw a model such as this one. Again, it is a matter of practice, and when you engage with the AMOS tool, you will find out that this is very easy to do. Moving forward now, and here you can see a complete example of a model with labels and variables. Please note that this model does not follow from the previous examples, but it is a random model just to make the case here. Here the researcher examines the impact of motivation, stress, and positivity on language. So let's distinguish between endogenous and exogenous variables. These are terms that you will find and you will read in the papers that concerning the statistical analysis, and therefore it's good to mention them here. So language is an endogenous variable, or we can also call it an outcome variable. As you can see, the arrows point to it. And because of this, we need to add the error of measurement, and you can see the value E15. So on top of language, you can see another circle and another arrow pointing to language, which is the E15. Again, because it is an outcome variable, we need to do that. The other three variables are exogenous, or we can call them antecedents, or what creates the phenomenon of interest, which we expect them to have an influence on the endogenous variable, which in this case is language. These three variables do not need the arrow on top of them. It's only the outcome variables that they do. Here is another view of the structural equation model with AMOS interface. So when you complete your model, it will look like this. On the left-hand side, you will look at the tools, and on the right-hand side, your completed model. And here, when you run the analysis, you will see numbers again. So again, these are relationships. So let's run the analysis, which we did. And let's look at the output. The output, again, it's a button in the tool, which takes us to what you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And let's look at the output, and two important areas are shown here. The model fit, which we previously discussed, and the estimates. The estimates are important because we can see the results of the hypothesis testing, also called path analysis. Usually, path analysis is used to examine larger models that include intermediary factors. For simplicity, in this case, we look at simple relationships. In other words, the effects of one variable on another. On the top right-hand side of the presentation, you can see the results. The first relationship looking at the impact of motivation on language is not confirmed, but the other two relationships are confirmed. Stress impacts negatively language, while positivity impacts positively language. So today we have examined confirmatory factor analysis, structural equation modeling, and path analysis. One difficult part, which was not covered here, is how to report these results, these numbers in your research papers or research dissertations. For this, I encourage you to read good quality research papers and watch YouTube videos in order to master this process. So let me repeat that. My name is Kostas Fodiou, and I am the Associate Dean of the Business School, and have presented today a training session on confirmatory factor analysis, structural equation modeling, and path analysis. I look forward your questions, and I'm ready to answer them. Thank you very much.
Apologies, the microphone was on. Nice. We are still waiting for questions. So if you do have any questions, can you please post them in the Q&A session? If there aren't any questions, we'll wait for a bit longer. And okay, we have the first question. Not sure what the question is exactly. AMOS new to new? How can one have access to it?
So, Sebastian, they're talking about access to AMOS, if I can understand well. And this is similar to all the packages that most of them they need to access through, they have to purchase them. But also, I think some universities, uh, they can provide access to SPSS or NVivo, and it is something that they can ask their program leaders or supervisors. The students can do that, and they can receive more information about. But from our knowledge, most of these are paid packages, and if it's something that the students will use, then it is something that they can consider to purchase them.
But an administrative question, is the presentation for 2 hours or it's done? This depends on the length of the Q&A. The main presentation itself is over. We're now on the Q&A, which
Yes.
normally lasts about half an hour, but they have in the past lasted an hour and a half and so forth. So we don't know until we've actually gone through all the questions. I am using JASP. Is there a tool to use with JASP in place of AMOS?
Okay. JASP. Personally, I'm not familiar with JASP. So perhaps this is something that you could maybe ask Google. That's what I do. Ask Google and I receive quick answers. That's the best way to find out. Or from where you access the JASP, maybe you can ask whether you can link that to AMOS.
Okay. Could you give us a live tutorial on how to get AMOS from the premium edition of SPSS? Dr. Fodil, would that be, I don't think that would take that long.
I could do that, but unfortunately on my work's PC, I do not have any of these programs. I do not have SPSS, I do not have AMOS. So I have created this a presentation from my personal laptop just to provide information. But it is, so the question is, could you give us a live tutorial how to get AMOS from the premium edition of SPSS? It is very easy to access it actually. If you open SPSS and you follow the step and you download a set of one study, then it's very easy through the step mentioned. By just clicking two buttons, you will be able to access AMOS very, very easily. So I think my presentation will be available, which I consent to that. And if you just follow the 1-2 steps, you will be able very, very easily to access AMOS.
So, can you throw more light on model fit in AMOS, please?
Yes, yes. Model fit is the cornerstone of statistical analysis. If you don't have good model fit, or do not present them in your research or research papers, your papers will look and your papers and dissertations will look weak. So this is something that you have to consider to master. I advise you, I provided some of the basic information, because whenever I see, whenever I watch seminars, sometimes they're a bit too advanced and I cannot follow them. So I presented some basic steps that will help you later on to master more difficult steps of research. So model fit is something very, very important. It's something very, very easy to do. And it's a matter of watching tutorials, which you will find many, many tutorials in YouTube. And you will be able to calculate it very, very easily. And if someone needs some help, they can contact me.
Excellent. Is AMOS different from AMOS 0.21 or 0.29 versions?
Yes. So I'm not, I don't know exactly the differences between the two. But I know that since IBM, I think, purchased or created SPSS, the fans of statistical analysis, they're not very pleased with the improvements. And actually, AMOS was something that was produced later on, which provides some more advanced and holistic analysis. So, I mean, together with SPSS, that we can see the one version and compare it to the other. I mean, more or less, things are the same, I would say, but I'm sure there are some improvements as well. And if you have the luxury to get the latest version, then you can do that. I mean, I have one version, which I treasure it, and it helps me to do whatever is necessary for my studies.
Excellent. What are the limitations of confirmatory factor analysis?
Yes. The limitations is to get the intended questions in the factors that they are intended to go. So that's the first most difficult aspect. So if we are using as an example here, organizational commitment, which is mostly studied with 4 questions. And then the questionnaire studies another 3 outcomes and some more antecedents and some more mediators and so on. And maybe the model has about 30 questions. Then it's very difficult for the study to be very, very successful and for all the questions of organizational commitment to go in one factor in one place. So that's the first thing. The second thing, once that is done, is to be able to calculate successfully the average variance extracted score. So it's not enough to get all the factors in the right place, all the questions in the right place in the right factor, but also when you follow the procedure I indicated before, then the calculation should show averages of, let's say, in this example, organizational commitment of above 0.5. Then this will signal a successful study. But then moving forward, then we have to go to AMOS to do the model fit. And if the model fit is not successful and we don't get the numbers that we need, which they have to be above 0.9, and we delete questions, then we have to go back to factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, to show again that our study is valid. So it's a circle. It's a circle that it's a demanding circle, but when you master the circle, you'll be able to conduct this very, very, very fast, very fast. And at the beginning, it's very, very difficult. again, watch YouTube videos because the best scholars, you will find the best scholars there, and they will give you all the answers. Okay,
Yes, it's true. Everything is online now.
it is.
They're saying thank you very much for a fascinating and valuable presentation. So it's appreciated.
Yes,
Can AMOS be used for both quantitative and qualitative research?
yes. Um, the quickest answer is no. The quickest answer is no. But then it depends on the situation. I mean, there are borderlines between quantitative and qualitative research. And sometimes you can see quantitative papers using also some qualitative aspects and also the other way around. So we cannot dismiss this as something that can be used. Although let's not forget that the one method, quantitative, explains the world with numbers, while the other one, qualitative, sees the world in words. So maybe the answer no should not be in the absolute, but mostly quantitative is used for numbers and qualitative for words. And there are other tools to consider, such as NVivo. I hope I answered this question. Okay,
Made sense to me, definitely.
thank you.
So, can we have access to a free SPSS app if possible? And is it possible for the university to share the link to download it and then we run the analysis? The short answer is that though there are plenty of free options online, and you can find this relatively easily, and there are also, yes, as your question says, we are aware that there are options like uh, free versions of SPSS, which, for example, have been hacked or otherwise made accessible. But we can't, as a university, recommend any of these formally. So we can't provide you with a download link ourselves to any such software, but that there are alternatives to SPSS that are free. This is known, and you can find them with a Google search. And that SPSS is itself available from pirated sites and the rest. This is also, we're aware of it, but again, we can't provide anything directly ourselves. No, I'm sorry, but you can find it you can find what you're looking for on Google. And you can also consider the student paid version, which is quite reasonable. So thank you very much for that question. This is the question in several parts, so we'll just break it down into those parts, Dr. Fodil. First of all, thank you for a good presentation. What this student wants to know is, first of all, how reasonable are the parameter estimates?
Okay, so I'm not sure if the student is talking about the path analysis, which is at the very end, which was presented at the very end. So how reasonable are the parameter? So what does reasonable means? What's the question about? What does reasonable means? It's quite easy to calculate because once we create the model and we prepare the model and we run the structural equation model, and then it's about clicking on the right box and finding the result. And if the significant level is at the right level, then the parameter is reasonable and is accepted. I'm not sure if there was something else in that question, but that's the logical answer. Okay, and let's move to number 2.
Mhm. Is there evidence of construct validity?
Yes. So there are a number of validity and reliability checks that we have to do. So we're looking at the construct. So some simple checks that we can do is to start from the questionnaire and to make sure that the questions that we used are established in the literature. So that's the first thing. So if there are questions and they apply to our research, it's best to use those and not something that we will create. So that's the first thing. Then the other steps is, and they are very important, is to do the factor analysis and to show all of those steps that we talked about confirmatory factor analysis. So the questions, they have to recite, they have to enter the right factor. So we show that they are independent. So that variable is independent and it can stand alone. So we can explore it alone. Also, the average variance extracted score of that variable has to be, the average is about 0.5. And then moving forward to AMOS, we need to make sure that the feed indices, the numbers are at above 0.9 or preferably above 0.95. So again, all these, they feed into the construct validity and reliability of the study. There are papers in the literature that deal with just that. And we have to consider them in order to mitigate the threat and to show that our study is valid.
And the third part of this question, are there any areas of local misfit in the model?
Okay, so we are moving into more specialized questions. So to be honest, I don't understand exactly the question about the model misfit. A model misfit is, for example, if the hypothesized model, so if what has been established previously in the literature does not apply in this study, and then we have to look at the reasons behind this. So this is how I understand the question, and this is how I answer it. So we're looking about misfit. So something that should have good fit, for example, good supervisor support, should support employees' organizational commitment and satisfaction, maybe. So if something else is evident in the relationships, then we can see, we don't say good fit, and then we have to explore it further, why this happens in the specific study, in the specific research context. So hopefully answer the question again correct.
Is the app generally used for research or for specific research? I'm sorry, I couldn't really understand which, I don't really understand the question, to be honest, Dr. Fotiu.
Yes.
Um,
So the AMOS is used for any research, any high-level, high-impact research, which deals with a questionnaire, a quantitative study, and deals with numbers. So if you are looking, for instance, for publishing, and you are looking at stars, which the stars start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and also a little bit beyond that, 4 with a star on the top. I think that in order to publish in a 2-star, you need to show that you have good model fit, especially the good 2 stars. And then, of course, the 3 stars, the 4 stars, then we're talking about very, very demanding very demanding things that you have to achieve in order to publish there. But again, you need to be considering this, what you have seen here, for I think for the 2 stars. And also it's very good for your research dissertations, especially the doctoral students. They need to work in AMOS and prove that their model has good fit. So first they have to consider to create a model, to have a model in place, and then to think about the steps to do the confirmatory factor analysis. Then move to AMOS and show that their model has good fit, and then they will be able to test the hypothesis in SPSS.
How can I access the model fit?
Yes. If you go through the presentation again, I explain the AMOS interface and a pinpoint where the output button is. So once you run the analysis, which again I explain where that button is located in the AMOS interface, once you run the analysis, you press the output, and then on the left-hand side, you will see a menu, and you will see model fit. If you press on that, then you will get all the results that I explained, and you will see circles on a few that they're considered important. So just go through the presentation, and you will be able to find that very, very easily, the model fit. Thank you.
So, I have had an introductory use of LISREL, Linear Structural Relations software. How different is it from AMOS and also in comparison with SPSS?
Okay. There are many tools now that you can use. Personally, I'm a little bit old school, and I've mastered SPSS and SPSS AMOS, and also some other tools. For example, I did another seminar a few months ago, which was about hierarchical linear modeling, which that concerns multiple levels of analysis. I would suggest to stick with one tool and master it. And of course, if you have more time, you can learn more. But if you master one of them, then it's more than enough. So the short answer to this long answer is I'm not sure about LISREL, but I'd like to have a tutorial from the student when they master it as well.
It's always one solution.
Yes.
So, can we use SPSS in a law dissertation?
Yes.
Um,
We can use SPSS in any dissertation. It could be a law, it could be, I would say, biology, it could be sociology, it could be astronomy, I don't know. As long as there are questions and there are participants and answers. So then again, we look at numbers, and these numbers, they can, and the tools that we have here, SPSS and AMOS, they can provide results to confirm certain aspects that we experience in the workplace or in society and so on.
Is this testing taught in one of the courses?
I do not think that such tools are taught, but of course, this is the reason that we do these seminars, in order to provide initial guidance. And when I was doing my doctoral degree, there was nobody at the university to provide such seminars that we do here. And in fact, and we're talking about English universities, and I see a lot of things that UNICAF does that is coming close to the students, and feedback and other things that we do here that I believe you will not get in the best universities in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that is us as well.
Yeah.
I missed the presentation. When will the recording be up on the VLE? Officially, we put recordings up within a month of the seminar having taken place. Now, in practice, because of the time of year and the fact that it's a lot less busy than it normally is, chances are I'm going to have the recording up this week. So it won't be long.
That's great. Thank
If
you,
it's not up this
Sebastian.
week, it'll be shortly thereafter, but it
Yes.
should be this week.
Yes.
So if we have any more questions, please put them in the Q&A, the two speech bubbles at the bottom of the Zoom controls for you. And if we don't have any more questions soon, we will be finishing fairly soon because we're nearing the end of our question list at the moment as it currently stands.
Yes.
So is AMOS part of SPSS? Do I need SPSS to run AMOS, or can I run it as a standalone and import my data?
Very good question. AMOS cannot, as far as I know, AMOS cannot run independently. So you need a tool which hosted before the participants. And this is the database from SPSS that we, let's say we import in AMOS in order to do the analysis.
Okay. So the next question, Dr. Fodio. Is it okay to hire someone to do data analysis for me, or should I do it all by myself?
It's very good if you hire somebody. It's very good if you can have help, as long as at the end of the day, you understand how it's done.
But you also, if you do that, you'll have to acknowledge it in your dissertation, because the
Yes,
dissertation is awarded for original work. Now,
yes,
normally this would mean that you do your analysis yourself. However, it is conceivable that there would be scenarios in a PhD context. Say, for example, that you're running a large project involving the coordination of multiple departments, each of whom have to submit their own results for you to collate and do your analysis on the set of results. So in, for example, a rare situation like that, then yes, provided you also check it with your department and your supervisor, then it could be possible to hire somebody to essentially do a part of your research in some capacity, but it is a sensitive topic and you do need to have it formally cleared by your school and by your supervisor. But that having been said, as Dr. Fodio was saying, thank you again for a very good seminar. We have a question from somebody. I cannot access the recordings of the previous webinars. Dear student, these are on the Student Help Center on the VLE. So you go to the VLE, you click on your own photo in the top right-hand corner, and a drop-down menu will appear where Student Help Center is one of the options. Click on Student Help Center, then scroll down to the Research Hub. In the Research Hub, you'll find a UU Stats section. open that section and you will find a link to a folder on Google Drive where all the previously recorded webinars are located. So it's on the Student Help Center, which is on the VLE. If you try to access it in that way and you're still having problems, then you can email us at the School of Doctoral Studies and we can give you a direct link. But provided you do use your VLE regularly as you should, it should be fairly easy for you to find. It's just on the Student Help Center. So with my SPSS outputs, can I work easily with the AMOS work? Please clarify. Essentially, the student is asking whether they can use AMOS with the SPSS outputs.
Yes. It's actually the SPSS database that is used and input in AMOS, and then AMOS uses that to do its own calculations. But in essence, yes, the SPSS output actually can be used and work very easily in AMOS. It's just inputting the output for the database and then proceeding with the standard procedure that, again, once you master it, it will be very, very easily to work it.
Excellent. So we have another question where they wanted to know how to access the Student Help Center again.
Yes.
What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen to show you how to do this live, as it's probably easier.
Thank you,
And
Sebastian. Very good.
Very welcome. It is an important point because we get this question
yes.
consistently.
Very, very, yes.
So you should be able to see my screen now. And we access the VLE. I'm on the Zambia VLE at the moment, but it's exactly the same on the Malawi VLE. So the top right-hand corner, you might have your own photo here or initials, but you click on that and then you click on Help Center, which takes you to this page. Then have to scroll down until you arrive at the Research Hub, which is over here, the Research Hub. And then you have UNICEF University Statistics Camp, so you click through to that. Now, over here you can access the program, which is updated monthly, but the video recordings are this link here. So you click on that, and it takes you to a folder where you literally have every single UU Stats webinar that has been done so far, including the Q&As, edited and ready to view, all very easily accessible. From here, all you have to do is literally just click on one of the links and the video will play for you automatically.
About that variable so that
you can also download the video should you want. So for example, if you have poor internet connection or low internet speed, you have the option to download the video straight to your computer. So that's, I'm just going to stop the share now. There we go.
That's great. Thank you, Sebastian. That's very useful.
Very welcome.
Very, very useful. Thank you.
It does make it easier.
Yes.
So I don't think we have any more questions for the time being. I'll issue one more call for questions and we'll give you a couple of minutes to see if any more come through. And in the meantime, I think it was a very good presentation, Dr. Fodil, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. Do you have anything else you wish to cover before we end the session?
Just to say that we have all been at the initial stages of learning statistical analysis. Had lots of questions, and it requires a lot of hard work to look what others are doing, other established scholars, they're conducting research in their papers, then pick up those words and go to YouTube and try to find out and to learn as much as you can. Nothing comes easy, but once you master something, you master it, and then you can use it with confidence, and you can stand out as well. So just keep trying to learn.
Very wise words, Dr. Fodil. It's all about, it's what learning is all about, really.
It is
It's an
indeed, yes.
asset that nobody can take away from you.
Yes, that's correct.
We have a question from a student. Can I have the email of Dr. Masood? Usually this is possible. You have to email the School of Doctoral Studies, and they'll be able to assist you. That's probably the easiest way to do it. We don't have any more questions at this stage, so I think I'm going to end the presentation there.
Indeed, indeed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fodil.
I thank you as well. I thank you very much, Sebastian.
Excellent.
It's been a cooperation that went a few weeks and a few months between us as well.
It's gone quite smoothly, I think.
Yes, Sebastian was very helpful and very supportive. So I would like to mention that and thank him publicly for all his help and
Very
support.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for an excellent presentation, Dr. Fodil.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Nice. And thank you, students, for all attending. Okay. Have a good week.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
week to everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.